Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is another box office disaster for DC. Keep watching to find out what all went wrong. The DCEU has finally come to an end, wrapping up a decade-long chapter that never really seemed to take off. From the so-called Snyderverse to Dwayne Johnson's obsession with changing the hierarchy of powers that rule the franchise, the series was filled with soaring highs and brutal lows. Now with the long-gestating Aquaman sequel, the franchise is done, calling it curtains to make way for James Gunn's new and improved interconnected universe. And in true DC fashion, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom opened the only way it could, abysmally. Released with little to no fanfare, James Wan's The Lost Kingdom opened to $27.6 million with a 3-day weekend according to Deadline. That number, which includes Thursday previews, is a significant drop from the $67 million opening weekend haul the first Aquaman received in 2018. With a 3-day $27 million opening, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom boasts the second lowest opening for a DC film, coming in just ahead of the disastrous $25 million haul of Blue Beetle. Deadline estimates that, over the 4-day weekend, the Wan-directed sequel will rake in between $38 million and $39 million, a far cry from its predecessor's opening. This is no doubt a disappointment for DC, considering Aquaman is the franchise's highest-grossing flick, with receipts totaling a whopping $1.14 billion. Beyond that, this is DC's fourth bomb this year, leaving the franchise's future profitability in doubt, even with Gunn in charge. With a budget north of $200 million, The Lost Kingdom will likely fail to turn a profit. Superhero fatigue is a buzzword that's consistently thrown around to signal that audiences are fed up with superhero-centric blockbusters, and for a while it seemed like superhero fatigue was more of a DC issue, as Marvel's films continued to prosper, even after the release of Avengers Endgame. However, over the last year, the amount of superhero-related content has exploded, creating indifference among audiences. The proof is in the financial pudding, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the latest casualty in this viewership assault. Overexposure is no doubt leading to a lack of financial prosperity. No superhero film has crossed the $1 billion barrier since 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home. Have audiences become inundated with too much superhero content, both on streaming and in multiplexes, or is this a bad movie issue? Released during peak superhero mania, the first Aquaman offered something new, and it was warmly embraced by hardcore fans and casual viewers alike, bringing home an extremely solid A- cinema score. In short, the picture was a crowd pleaser, something The Lost Kingdom isn't. Wan's second trip to Atlantis feels disjointed, awkward, and seems to lack a sense of momentum, which is probably why Warner Brothers didn't lift a review embargo until hours before the film's release. Looper critic Alistair Ryder absolutely decimated the film for being average, writing, "This generic but largely functional tale suffers due to everybody on screen clearly assuming this is the end of the road, or resigned to failure even as they're shooting it." For critics across the board, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom feels like a film that's simply going through the motions, offering nothing new or engaging. The same can be said for audiences, who awarded the film a mediocre B cinema score rating, a death sentence for a blockbuster. Prior to its release, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was mired in controversy. From the Amber Heard Johnny Depp drama to reports that Jason Momoa allegedly appeared drunk on set, James Wan's latest was riddled with bad press that simply couldn't be ignored. A negative narrative manifested around the picture, which no doubt seeped into the minds of fans, who likely knew that they were about to witness a dud in December. Coupled with the confirmation that The Lost Kingdom was going to be the last flick in the DCEU, it felt useless for audiences to show up for what was essentially an unceremonious end. While the behind-the-scenes happenings on the sequel are best left to speculation, one felt compelled to open up about how the negative chatter surrounding the picture was overwhelming and untruthful. One told Empire months before the film hit multiplexes, "I've had to learn to be more zen in dealing with all the noise around me, for sure. It's difficult because this narrative has emerged that is not the reality. The noise is fun to write about and it gets clicks, but people don't know the truth." And by the time the picture was about to be released, it seems like everyone had given up. From not receiving a red carpet premiere to Momoa explicitly telling Entertainment Tonight that Aquaman's future is, quote, "not looking too good," it appeared as if Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was dead on arrival. And the receipts absolutely prove it. With a worldwide average of just under $110 million with the 3-day weekend, The Lost Kingdom is a bitter and disappointing end for the DCEU. The best-case scenario is that the film pushes a $250 million barrier globally, a number it'll probably reach thanks to the holidays. But this one won't have those stellar legs, because the product simply isn't as compelling as its predecessor. Now all eyes are on James Gunn and Peter Safran's take on the world of DC, which will formally kick off with 2025's Superman Legacy. With no DC flicks set to hit cinemas until then, he is hoping that audiences will miss their quarterly dose of superhero theatrics and openly embrace the new regime.